it would be light. Ceiling.
If you can hear some sort of ambient music in the background, that is my brother's playing some board game that has a soundtrack linked with it. It should actually be quite a nice, like, atmospheric noise, but hopefully it doesn't get copyrighted. Today's video, we're going to be talking through the 10 books that I want to prioritize in 2025. I am so excited for this video. I actually initially wrote my big list of all of these books about a month ago, and then I've been kind of revising it ever since. I think I started at 15 because usually I film 15 books I want to read in 2020 whatever. But this year I have decided to be a bit of like a realist, because in the past I don't get to whatever I set myself, and on top of that 15 is just like a really weird number. Like, why 15? I didn't start this in 2015. I don't know where that number came from. Maybe it was because I tried to pick 10 but I couldn't narrow it down that far. But I also would never want to set like 25 books to read in 2025 because I just realistically would not get to them. This year I actually found that I had a bit of a struggle trying to pick 15, so 10 was very comfortable for me. You'll see that the majority of these books are either ones that I want to read for videos or ones that I want to read like seasonally. So we've got some summer books, we've got some autumn books, things like that. I do film TBR videos at the beginning of every single season. I also want to have books that like I really want to prioritize. Like, if I could tick every single one of these books off this list by the end of 2025, I'd be really pleased with myself, but I also would not be overly impressed because I don't think it's beyond my abilities to get to every single one of these 10 books. Without further ado, let's just get on with the video because I'm so excited to share with you what I'm planning to get to in 2025. By the way, we're going in order of smallest book to biggest book just because that's the way I have it stacked. First book we have is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheeps? Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. This is of course the book that inspired Blade Runner. I really love the film Blade Runner, but I also particularly enjoyed the second one, Blade Runner 2049. But yeah, the first one is fantastic as well and so iconic. I've always been intrigued by the book because I feel like a lot of the times with a really interesting sci-fi, it will have drawn either inspiration from a really kind of basic book, or it will have inspired a writer to adapt from the film. But to have a really kind of like interesting concept having been created within a book set up the groundwork for what the film then went on to do, and considering Blade Runner 2049 is one of my favourite films ever, I thought that this could be pretty incredible, so I'm really excited to read it. On top of that, it's very short. I do want to read it for a video. It won't be like a vlog or anything like that unless you request it, but I want to use it for a video that like I'm reading a bunch of different books for, so I'm really excited to finally be getting that idea off the ground by getting to some of the books I've set for myself. I'm going to read the back of this. World War Terminus had left the Earth devastated. Through its ruins, bounty hunter Rick Deckard stalked in search of the renegade replicants who were his prey. When he wasn't retiring them with his laser weapon, he dreamed of owning a live animal, the ultimate status symbol in a world all but bereft of animal life. Then Rick got his chance, the assignment to kill 6 Nexus 6 targets for a huge reward. But in Deckard's world, things are never that simple, and his assignment quickly turned into a nightmare kaleidoscope of subterfuge and deceit, and the threat of death for the hunter rather than the hunted. Exciting. So excited about this. I also thought we'd do first lines because this video will be quite short otherwise. Chapter 1. A merry little surge of electricity piped by automatic alarm from the mood organ beside his bed awakened Rick Deckard. Interesting. Should we set the books back here? I mean, you're not going to be able to see them, but hopefully you will as the stack grows. Next up we have My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. If you're a long-term subscriber of this channel, you would know that I put this book on about 5 different TBRs. I've tried to get to it every single summer since I owned it, and I just never ever get around to it. So this year is the year that we're finally reading My Brilliant Friend. Again, I'd like to film a vlog on this. I'm hoping to go on holiday this summer, so potentially that will be to Italy, and I'll definitely take it along then. Otherwise, I will be reading it at home because it has to happen. This follows 2 girls living in Naples. The entire kind of 4 books follow their lives like together, but also as they drift apart from each other and come in and out of each other's lives. A true story of girlhood, like really meant to kind of encapsulate that experience. It's just beautifully written and a really touching story that I think is a lot of people's favourite book. This also was the #1 rated book for the like best book of the 21st century, I think it was, that was the list, by the New York Times. But aside from that, my mum loves it. So this morning Reno telephoned. I'm excited to see what I personally think about it. I have another book I really want to get to in the summer, and that is Outline by Rachel Cusk. I have never read a Cusk, and I feel like it's about time that I did because I own the first and third books in the Outline trilogy. This first book, 10 conversations, spare and lucid, follows a novelist teaching a course in creative writing over an oppressively hot summer in Athens. I love the concept behind this book, like the idea of the structure being these 10 conversations, but on top of that, summer in Athens, It's going to match the vibes and it's going to create the vibes, and it's everything I want to be reading in the summertime. Same with My Brilliant Friend. I'll be getting to this whether I'm reading it abroad or not. I'm very, very keen to try Cusk's writing, and fingers crossed I really get on with it because she's written a lot of work. It's well loved by some, but I think a lot of people find that it is a little bit maybe too sparse, or they just don't gel with her writing style. So I'm really hoping I'm with this group of people. Not these, but we'll see. Before the flight, I was invited for lunch at a London club with a billionaire I'd been promised had liberal credentials. Book number 4 is Sliders Fast Company by Eve Babitz. I read my first collection of Babitz's work this year. It was I Used to Be Charming. I had such a good experience with that. I really, really loved her writing style, how kind of colloquial it was, but also written in this very kind of like journalistic style. I just really got on well with it. So I'm very, very excited to expand my Babitz knowledge, my Babitz collection. This is a similar concept to the previous one. It's made up of a bunch of like little short story, essay style things. But yeah, I'm hoping that I'll have a great experience with this. I've heard so many good reviews about this volume of her writing particularly. Doesn't this one have like a really fun idea behind it? She seduced seemingly everyone who was anyone in Los Angeles. One man proved elusive, however, and so Babitz did what she did best, and she wrote him a book, which is this one. In the end, it doesn't matter if Babitz ever gets the guy because she seduces us. So much fun. This is a love story, and I apologise, it was inadvertent. Next up, we have another New York Book Reviews book, and that is Stoner by John Williams. If you've seen my most recent book haul, which was the previous book video I posted, you'll know that this one was going to be on the 2025 TBR, and the next book as well. I also gave a sneak peek for that one. But Stoner is a modern classic. It is so, so well loved. I haven't had a singular bad review for this book, and it just sounds beautiful but also incredibly sad. We're following this very quiet professor as he leads this very quiet life. I think it's about him kind of putting other people before himself. I've heard that you kind of wish that he had prioritized himself, not over other people, but taken more care for himself in the way that he cares for other people, given himself the same kind of love. I think it's gonna be beautiful. I think the writing's gonna be lovely, and I also want to read it for a video. Who would have guessed? You're gonna have to wait and see what that one is, but I'm so excited to kind of delve into this and really analyze it on behalf of the video, but also I feel like this could be a new favourite book. It's definitely a 5-star prediction for sure. William Stoner entered the University of Missouri as a freshman in the year 1910 at the age of 19. Next up, another book that I mentioned in my book haul because I got a collection of Bram Stoker short stories, so you can kind of guess what this next one's going to be. It is indeed Dracula by said Bram Stoker. This is a beautiful edition. This is a Penguin Deluxe Classics one. It's really, really incredible. The French flaps, bats on it. So fun. And also deckled edges if you like that kind of thing. I don't really care about them, but I know people have either a lot of love for them or a lot of dislike. Yeah, this is a classic I've never ever gotten to. I've wanted to read it for the past 2 years and I have never got around to it. The first year I just didn't have time because I started it via audiobook, and then my brother gifted me a physical copy, so I decided to switch to the physical copy, but then ran out of time within the month of October, which is when I want to really be reading this book. And then this year, 2024, I tried to get to it, but then I very spontaneously booked a flight to New York, and I spent a week and a little bit in New York, and it definitely threw reading plans up in the air, but that was just like unavoidable life events, and I definitely wouldn't have traded that trip for anything. It meant that I didn't get around to Dracula. So 2025 is the year of Dracula. I feel like if I don't get to this book, something will have gone seriously wrong. This has to happen in the year of 2025. I think this is gonna be great. I'm so excited for it. For the audiobook, I got a few chapters in and I was already thoroughly enjoying my time reading it, so I think that I could be a Dracula girl. I also am thinking I'm going to be seeing Nosferatu in a couple of days, so hopefully we will see that, and that will also inspire me to get a move on and read the source material. Dracula first line. What's it gonna be? Jonathan Harker's journal, kept in shorthand. 3rd of May, Bistritz. Left Munich at 8:35 p.m. on 1st of May. Arriving at Vienna early next morning. Should have arrived at 6:46, but the train was an hour late. Next up, this is a bit of a different one. We have The Flame by Leonard Cohen. This is a poetry collection by Leonard Cohen. I have read The Book of Longing. I read that 2 years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago. I had a bit of a mixed time with it, as I feel like I always do with poetry collections. It only makes sense that you'd connect with some poems more over others. Having said that, I did enjoy his work a lot, and I just think his writing, when it's good, is like fantastic. It's great. I also want to kind of really deep dive into his music because I have listened to a few of his albums through, and there's some songs that are so close to my heart that I really want to kind of like further explore his work, both in the written word and in music form. Right, first line in this one is going to be a little bit interesting because we obviously are going to be reading a poem but that's fine. This poem is called Happens to the Heart. We'll read the first stanza, so this makes a little bit more sense than probably just the first line. I was always working steady, but I never called it art. I was funding my depression, meeting Jesus, reading Marx. Sure, it failed my little fire, but it's bright at the dying spark. Go tell the young Messiah what happens to the heart. Ah! You know when you get chills when you read like beautiful writing? I get that, but instead of that, I get this like rush of warm feeling when I read Cohen. Beyond excited for that. Book number 7, we have The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R. Tolkien. I have never read The Lord of the Rings. I am a massive fantasy fan, but I've never read The Lord of the Rings. That's crazy, isn't it? I haven't even read The Hobbit. But yeah, my brother is suddenly like on a Lord of the Rings kick, and my older brother, and he said that he wanted to read The Fellowship, and I was like, me too, should we buddy read it? And he was like, yes, please. And instead of, you know, him reading other books in the meantime, he's put everything on pause while I hurry up and finish The Name of the Wind, which is a big fantasy book I'm in the middle of, so that we can then read this one together. So I have a lot of pressure to get The Name of the Wind done in order to pick this one up. Therefore, that means that as soon as The Name of the Wind's done, this will be started. So you should see me reading this one in the new year. If you would like a vlog of this experience, or any sort of like documentation of my reading journey with this series, then let a girl know, because I'm very happy to deliver that. But yeah, this beautiful edition, I love it so much with the gold foiling. Very, very intrigued by The Lord of the Rings, and I think it would just, you know, it could be a bit of a life-changing experience considering how much I adore the genre. It made so many moves within the genre, it really truly established it and made people take it more seriously. So very, very excited to kind of see the links where some of my favourite fantasy series might have taken inspiration from this original text. Chapter 1, A Long Expected Party. When Mr. Bilbo Baggins of Bag End announced that he would shortly be celebrating his 11th birthday with a party of special magnificence, there was much talk and excitement in Hobbiton. Okay, our stack is getting a little bit topsy-turvy because we're putting some bigger books on top of it, but it's okay. Also different vibe, we have The Creative Acts, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin is a world-famous music producer. He's produced some of the top albums of all time, including The New Abnormal, which is one of my favourite albums of all time. The Strokes' latest release. Having said that though, it came out many years ago and they need to hurry up and put some more content out. Regardless, this is his manifesto, is that the right word? It's like it's an ode to the creative and creation, inspiration behind creation and motivation behind creation, the dedication of a person to create, as well as the joy in creating and how to kind of maintain that joy while you are required to create, but also where to draw the inspiration from, like from within, as well as drawing from things around you even when you're not feeling particularly creative. I think this is going to be potentially another life-changing book. I have heard mixed things about it, but I feel like the negative things have been people going into this with the wrong idea. I've tried to read this so many times and I've never ever got around to it, which is ridiculous. It could be really, really great for me. There's been times when I felt like I've needed this book and I just never got to it. I want to use this book as inspiration for creation on YouTube because there have been so many videos that I have these great concepts for, but actually executing them ends up going on the back burner, which is ridiculous because it's my favourite thing in the world. There's so many things stopping you and a lot of those things come from within. They're about you sabotaging your own plans, and I feel like this book is going to get me to like snap into gear and like sort myself out in terms of just getting out there and creating even when I don't feel like I am the right person for it, or I am going to bring anything new to the table, or my ideas feel stagnant within me, because once they're out, they could be great. So yeah, that is The Creative Acts by Rick Rubin. But let's read the first line. Also, I have a signed copy. This was a gift last year. Everyone is a creator. Those who do not engage in the traditional arts might be wary of calling themselves artists. They might perceive creativity as something extraordinary or beyond their capabilities, a calling for the special few who are born with these gifts. Fortunately, that is not the case. This is another signed copy and another book that I have been kind of putting off for a while, but 2025 is hopefully going to be the year. This one I feel the most nervous about, perhaps because it is the largest. I don't know, people have mixed feelings with this one as well, but when they love it, they really love it. I feel like that's a bit of a trend. Babel by Kuang. This is a historical fantasy book, but it's also very, very much within the subgenre, was it a genre itself at this point maybe, of dark academia. I really enjoy dark academia books. I love the definition of the genre, essentially. A couple of years ago I read The Secret History, and this year I read Truly Devious, and I also read If We're Villains. So 2025, This is the main academia title that I would love to read. I have a lovely signed copy, like I said. I actually bought it in Oxford, which is crazy because that's where this book is set. I haven't told you anything about it. Let's delve in. An act of translation is always an act of betrayal. Oxford, 1836, the city of dreaming spires. It is the centre of all knowledge and progress in the world, and at its heart is Babel, Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institution of Translation. The tower from which all the power of the empire flows. Orphaned in Canton and brought to England by a mysterious guardian, Robin Swift thought Babel a paradise until it became a prison. But can a student stand against an empire? I've heard that the magic system in this is really fascinating. But on top of that, there's lots of discussions of class and privilege, but also of, like that line says, translation is always an act of betrayal, because there's so much that is being missed and so much that is lost in that translation, and it's also words being stolen from a language and from a culture, people, to get brought into another and redefined in that way. I've heard that Kuang is just a genius, and so I'm super duper excited to see what she has to say about this topic, and also hoping that it really delivers on the vibes as well as the kind of intellectualism. So there you go, those are my 10 books that I would love to read in 2025. The 10 books that I really want to highly prioritize. If I don't get to these, like I said, something will have most likely gone wrong. You know, like I said, non-negotiables. What a dreamy dream stack of books. If you've read any of these, please let me know. If you would like to read any of these, please let me know. And yeah, if you have any thoughts at all about any of these books, please let me know, because I'm really, really excited about them. If you have any sort of thing that would kind of get me even more interested, or potentially if you dislike the book, let me know as well, because that might either draw me to it or steer me away from it. Maybe it's not good for me. But that's all. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for being here. Subscribe if you'd like to stick around and see me read these books and many, many others in the new year. And I'll see you super duper soon in a couple of days for a new video. Also, this is my final video of 2024, so happy new year. I'll be with you so soon because I have so much kind of end of year content and so much beginning of year content to deliver to you. Without further ado, I'll leave in peace. Bye bye.